tell you one thing, you ain't an Italian if you don't have a cassata cake on your Easter dessert table. No Easter bunnies here, just a straight up classic cassata cake. So what actually is a cassata cake? This is something very different. It is so unique. It is so delicious. I made so many of these way back when I had my bakery, and I think you guys are going to absolutely love this recipe. Once again, I have commissioned my bakery yellow cake recipe as the base for this cake. We are going to mix up a ricotta cannoli filling. I call it cannoli filling because, well, it's pretty much a cannoli filling to me. And if you're already cringing, going, oh my God, I can't believe you're gonna use tofu in place of ricotta, trust me, try it before you make a judgment. You really are going to be amazed at this. I'm debating whether I'm going to be putting real rum into the recipe or go ahead and use my spiced rum extract so that I could actually share this cake with some non-alcoholics. So we'll see how I'm feeling once I get to that part. But essentially it's a vanilla cake base, a cannoli filling with some orange zested into it. And then we're going to be making up some almond paste, which is going to drape this cake. Not almond paste, marzipan. And so actually, see how I confused it already? I said almond paste, which I meant marzipan. Now, what's the difference between almond paste and marzipan? We're not really too much, except that marzipan is a dough that we mix and it gets rolled out similar to fondant. And you could drape cakes and you could make little decorations like maybe you guys have seen in some specialty cake or candy shops, the marzipan fruits that look just like fruit. Well, it starts out with the almond paste as the base of that. Now, almond paste is really nothing more than ground up almonds with sugar in it. And so that's the almond paste that we start with. And then to go ahead and make the marzipan dough, we are simply taking almond paste and adding more confectioner's sugar to it until it forms sort of like a more of a stiff dough. You can see that it starts out pretty sticky as the almond paste, and then as you add in the confectioner's sugar and just keep mixing and mixing, it's going to kind of look like, I don't know, really dry and like it's not coming together, but it will eventually come together into this, it's like a dough. It really resembles fondant, and we're going to roll that out and drape that over the cake. So just real quick, speaking of almond paste, I do want to shout out the sponsor of this video today, Olive Nation. You guys may have seen that I've worked with them before. I don't typically do sponsored videos or product reviews, but Olive Nation has some really high quality baking products and ingredients. And let me tell you, this is some really high quality almond paste. This reminds me of the quality that I was getting when I had my bakery. It is so soft. The smell of it is wonderful. It's not dried out like the stuff that you get in the supermarket, if you could even find it. So they're offering you guys a discount if you do click through this video and go over to their website and buy some of their products. So I do recommend, you know, they sell really great things, including the vanilla bean paste that I'll be using for this recipe. And like I said, I don't know if I'm going to go with the real rum or if I'm going to add the spiced rum extract to the simple syrup that's going to soak this cake. Typically, I do not recommend rum extracts because I think they're disgusting. In my experience, even in the ones that I used to buy when I had my bakery, rum extracts could be pretty offensive. But I'll tell you what, this one from Olive Nation is really awesome. So if you want to stay alcohol-free but stick to the classic preparation of this cake, definitely go for the rum flavor extract for the simple syrup. Now, if you noticed when I was making the marzipan, I did add a little bit of rose extract to it. Now, that's debatable whether rose flower water is included in a traditional cassata cake, and you know, you're probably going to see a lot of people do this cake differently, especially when it comes to the decoration. Like, I am definitely not sticking to the classic preparation when it comes to the decoration of mine. I'm gonna go ahead and do it the way that I decorated mine when I had my bakery. Now lastly, I'm going to be folding in these mini chocolate chips into my sweet ricotta filling for this cake. And so Olive Nation sponsor, thank you for that. And all right, let's get mixing this recipe. Again, I've gone ahead and done the yellow cake ahead of time, and I've showed you guys how to do that so many times before that I didn't feel like I had to do it again on this recipe. And if you have a recipe that you prefer, go ahead and use that one as the base. But if you have not yet tried my bakery yellow cake recipe, you kind of need to do that because it is going to change your life. So let's go ahead and get to mixing the cannoli filling, the sweet ricotta filling for this cake. I always use extra firm for my recipes, and I don't press it out. I don't find that, I mean, sometimes I'll find that it's a little bit excessive with the water, as it's like dripping with water, but I'll like maybe squeeze it out over the sink a little bit if I find that it has a little bit too much water in it, but this feels really good and firm. So that goes right into the food processor. Now don't comment on my spotty food processor. It is clean, but I have well water here and it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. You don't even want to know what my hair looks like. That's why I don't go on the video anymore. So just get it into the food processor. I'm going to pulse that until it resembles ricotta cheese. So the first thing we have to do before we start making our sweet ricotta cheese filling is get this can of coconut milk to the refrigerator, which I did last night. Now, because we're going to be folding a small amount of vegan whipped cream into that filling. Now, I know a lot of you cringe at the thought of using coconut milk cans for vegan whipped cream because there's some of the brands, you just have a lot of trouble. Believe me, I've had my share of nightmares, but I do have pretty good luck with this brand. Not all the time, but fingers crossed that this is actually going to be a really good ratio of coconut fat to liquid, which this brand typically I have good luck with. If not, I do always have my backup. If you can get your hands on this silk heavy whipping cream, it is an absolute dream to work with. It is just wonderful. But I don't want to open this because I only need a small amount of it. Now, if you can't get that and you don't want to use this, I do have a recipe for vegan whipped cream on my website. That is wonderful. It just takes a lot of effort and some advanced preparation. So let's see what is this? A Taste of Thai has for us. See, now sometimes this is not the greatest. It's like this coconut oil sort of separates from the fat, and then you have these like annoying hard chunks, and that's coconut oil. That's separated onto the top. Then I've got my coconut fat under that. So this is kind of a dud. I could tell already that I'm not going to want to use this. Because, here, I'll show you. Basically, this is the hard coconut oil. See that? This is the luscious coconut fat that we want. And then on the bottom of that is all the liquid. But this and this is supposed to be pretty homogeneous. It's supposed to be like together. You shouldn't really find this hard disc of like waxy coconut oil on the top because that's never going to mix in and I'm going to have chunks. So that's totally annoying and I'm not going to use it. So much for you, Taste of Thai. I just gave you major props and you didn't come through. All right, let me whip up a little bit of this silk heavy whipping cream. I only need about a cup of it to fold into this recipe, so I'll be right back. Sometimes when I'm in the editing process, I notice that my camera angles are way off. They're like crooked. It's because I can't see anything anymore now that I'm old. So when I try to adjust the cameras before I film, I try to make them as straight as possible, but the viewfinder on the camera is so small and I think it's straight, but then I get into the editing and I'm like, man, that is so crooked. So we're going to rename this actually the Geriatrics Baking Show. So I just zested in a little bit of orange zest into my ricotta cheese, And some people probably don't do that. And again, if you research the history and origin of this cake, it's really interesting, like who takes credit for it and what is really the true original cassata cake. Like, it's a really interesting read. I will link to a good article that I have specifically about the history and origin of the cassata cake and how different it is depending on where you come from in Italy and how differently it's decorated. And so some people fold candied fruits into this sweet ricotta cheese mixture. As I mentioned before, some people would use like the rose water, which I added a bit of it to my marzipan for the draping of it to sort of get that little rose taste in there as well. I like to use just a little bit of orange zest in mine, and chocolate chips, little mini chocolate chips I like to use. So I think more than even the differences on the filling recipe, you're going to see differences on how it's decorated. Some cassata cakes, man, I'll tell you, it looks like a 1950s candy shop exploded all over the cake. Like, to me, it's pretty gaudy, but that probably is the most traditional way to decorate a cassata cake. So you really should look up the origin of that and, you know, see the different styles. So let me go grab my whipped cream that literally whipped up in about 30 seconds. I mean, just look at this. This stuff is such a dream to work with. If you can get your hands on the Silk heavy whipping cream, not sponsored, believe me, I wish I was. This stuff is expensive, but it is a time saver and really a dream to work with. So again, I have my little vanilla bean paste from Olive Nation that I'm going to put a spot of that in here. Whoops. Whoa, that was more than a spot. Yikes. You'd think I've been sucking on that bottle of rum. And then we're going to just fold in about a cup of that vegan whipped cream. Now, the thing I love about vegan whipping cream, coconut whipped cream, is that it actually firms up in the refrigerator, like on your cake as an icing or in your filling, whatever you're using it for, like mousses. So it's actually like an added stabilizer versus what we remember the cow whipping cream to have acted like. I mean, that stuff just used to break down the minute that you looked at it. So like, that is what I do love using the coconut whipped cream, because this is going to get really a lot more stable in the refrigerator as it gets colder, and then of course inside the cake too. So you don't need like agar or anything to really stabilize this recipe. So let me go ahead and get this into the refrigerator. I'm going to slice up my cake because I did put a little bit too much batter into these pans, so I am going to have to trim off quite a bit of that. But as always, on my website at Gretchen'sVeganBakery.com, I have everything listed out for you in perfect amounts so that you don't have waste. Let me take care of all of that formulation for you, and we're going to build this cake. It is fixing to storm here today. I think we are due for a heavy-duty thunderstorm, so I need to get going on this because I do not want to be filming while there's a thunderstorm happening. So I'm trimming up my yellow cake recipe, and I got a little crazy here with putting all of the batter into just 2 7-inch pans. It's too thick, it's too much cake. But this cassata cake is only going to be a 2-layer cake, so I'm just going to trim off some of it to make it a little bit thinner And again, I never waste the scraps. Most of the time I eat them, but a lot of times I'll use them for like another cake project, maybe the garnish on the sides of a cake or something like that. So this is only 2-layer cake, so it is going to be a little bit thicker than what I normally use for cake layers. And I'm going to be building this into a ring mold, which is basically just a springform pan with the bottom removed. And I do have an acetate strip here to kind of keep it all in, because I do want to mold that soft filling into this and then let it all set together so that it's nice and super firm when I do go to ice this cake. So I actually changed gears here. I had a different idea. This is an 8-inch cake pan, and my cake is a 7-inch cake. So you can see I have this little space. Can you see the space here? It's like, I don't know, 1/2 inch space. I'm going to fill that whole space with buttercream. Now, this is something that I don't typically do, and we're gonna try it live on television today. Oh shit, I just had a blowout. I had a feeling that was gonna happen. That's so weird. I totally manifested that. I was like, I hope my buttercream bag doesn't blow out while I'm doing this. And here we are, major blowout. Can you believe that? I'm a creator. I manifest things. Okay, come on. Okay, not a big deal. We switched to a disposable pastry bag. That is so weird. I totally thought in my mind, I hope my pastry bag doesn't blow out. Like, how weird. And then I had a major blowout. See, your mind is powerful. Sometimes we create not great things though, so be careful what you think about. This technique brings me all the way back to my my externship that I did. Oh my God, way back in 1995. I worked for the Boca Raton Resort and Club, and the pastry chef, and they was specialty cake decorator who would come in, and she specifically made the wedding cakes and like that. And so I never got in on that part of it there, but I used to just like try to watch what they were doing, and they would do this. They would build the cake inside like a ring mold and do a buttercream ring all the way around the outside. And the point of that is because when we have a soft filling, oh crap, look, I almost did it again. I forgot to syrup my cake. You guys, what is going on for me? My simple syrup, my rum simple syrup that I am committing to the rum. I'm going for the rum. I think that'll probably get my brain straight. If not, it'll make everything worse. But rum into the simple syrup. Again, as I explained at the beginning, if you don't want to do the alcohol, just use a rum extract. And we're going to first soak the layers of this cake before we start adding the soft filling. So basically the point of doing it this way is, if you've ever tried to ice buttercream on a soft filled cake that doesn't have the buttercream dam, and the whole reason we do the buttercream dam is to keep the filling from seeping out of the outside of the cake. So I guess I'm sort of like doing it differently. I don't know if I'm explaining this the right way, but I like to mold my soft fillings into the cake so that way it sort of all sets together rather than build the cake traditionally. But you could do it either way that you prefer. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it really is the same thing. I am making a buttercream dam, but the buttercream is only going to be on the outside of the cake, not that, like, you know when you cut a cake and you have like that little section of buttercream that juts forward into the layer? That's what I'm avoiding by doing it this way. So anyway, I don't know if I was clear by explaining it that way, but here we have our soft filling, sweet ricotta cheese filling into our luscious yellow cake. You guys, I ate a hunk of it. It is such a delicious cake, I'm telling you. If you think you have the best recipe for vegan vanilla cake, you don't. because unless you're using my recipe, you really don't have the best recipe. So I'm gonna soak this side of it so that the filling, so that the syrup, the rum syrup, kind of stays on the inside of the cake rather than soaking the top of the layer, if that makes sense. I should just shut up and let you guys watch this because I'm all tongue twisted. I'm forgetting things again. Ladies, 50 ain't no joke. Let me just tell you that much. Get prepared for it. Enjoy your youth while you got it. All right, so there goes my other layer. And the last little bit of buttercream goes around here. Now I think I'm going to be like scraping a majority of this buttercream off because that's kind of a lot. But again, the whole point of it was to keep the cannoli filling from squeezing out the cake layers on the side. So I'm gonna get this to the refrigerator, let this get nice and set and cold so that I can do a very light crumb icing, and then we're gonna roll out the marzipan and get to decorating. I have to say the addition of that rose extract in this marzipan recipe is really nice. I only used about a half a teaspoon to this amount, and the smell is just so beautiful. And I've already been picking off little pieces to taste this, and it really does add a little bit of a subtle addition that I really do like. So this is just a cheesecloth that I have some powdered sugar in. It's going to control the amount of sugar that I use to roll this out a little bit better than if I just throw it on the table. So let's see how this marzipan recipe does. If you really don't like working with fondant, you're really not going to like working with marzipan. I hate to break it to you. It is more difficult to work with. It breaks a lot easier. So I will have to see how this goes as far as draping the whole cake. I may have to do the paneling method, which a lot of people really do prefer now. You know, you can get a much cleaner final result with the paneling method than just draping the whole entire cake with the marzipan. You'll have less cracking. So I have a feeling, just from how this feels right now, that I'm going to be doing that. A good way to do the paneling for the sides, like to get the correct measurement, is to use the acetate strip that you use to build the cake. So I would need, though, like 2 feet of marzipan stripping to cover the whole entire circumference of this cake, though, so that's why I cut it into 2 pieces. But this is a good gauge to measure the actual height that we need for the sides of the cake. So I've always said making a cake is really easy. Try filming a cake and then get back to me. So despite the technical difficulties, my super foggy brain yesterday with building the cake and almost forgetting the rum syrup, to switching up the method of how to build this cake, we totally pulled it off. And let me tell you something, this cassata cake is absolutely amazing. The bakery style yellow cake that I'm using is not too sweet. It takes on that rum syrup so perfectly. And the sweet ricotta cheese filling, you could probably go a little bit more sugar if you wanted to, but I don't know. I just think that the buttercream and the marzipan dough covering really makes up for that sweetness. So I really do hope that you're going to try this recipe. As always, head over to GretchensVeganBakery.com to grab everything that you're going to need, including your 20% off discount to Olive Nation. How generous. Originally, they were only going to offer a 10% discount, but they hiked it up to 20% for all of you just for watching this video and for clicking through to the website to grab the discount code. So anything that you need from Olive Nation, head over there. 20% off is a really generous discount. So thanks to Olive Nation for sponsoring this video. All right, everyone, thanks so much for sticking through. This was a gigantic video, and I just really love hanging out with you guys once a week. Definitely comment below. Let me know if you've ever had a cassata cake before. What do you think about my decoration versus the traditional customary decoration that you would see on a true Italian cassata cake? All right, that's enough talking from me today. I just want to keep on going and chatting with you guys about this cake, but I will stop here and we'll pick it up again next week. All right, everyone, until then, happy vegan baking. Bye for now.